Grove Studios in Ypsilanti for Acoustic Alternatives. It's been the home of the podcast since the fall of 2020, when my first guest was an artist from Ypsilanti by the name of Chris DuPont. And Chris has been a guest on it a couple times. Rarely do I have visitors in twice, but it does happen. The podcast studio is also a place where folks from Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, Detroit, they can all swing by anytime they want and do their band practice. If you're a band looking for a place to get out of the garage and get into the studio, this is your home. If you're a DJ and you're a nightclub DJ and you want to practice your mixes not in front of people and make a lot of noise and not disturb your neighbors, also a spot for you here. And podcasters like myself. I'm sitting at a podcast table in the largest studio at Grove, and I'm really excited that they continue to invite me back to do things here. It has been an excellent place for me to do the thing I love doing, which is talking to musicians and exposing people to music that I think they need to hear. And on the program today is somebody who's been on my radar for quite a while, but I've never actually had a chance to meet her until last night at the Arc. Hayley Reardon is here. Hello, Hayley.
Hi.
It's so good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. So good to be here.
Oh, goodness. Well, I hard to define like where you are in your career without looking at numbers, I guess, because you're not yet a household name, but a lot of people know who you are if they're into the kind of music that I'm into. Only counting Apple Music, you're 8 million streams into your youngish career at this point, although the album I discovered you on, when did this come out? There's a year on the back. 2013?
2013.
It's a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to connect with you since then because your voice has that, for me, familiar sound of things that when I was first getting into the singer-songwriter scene, started doing a show actually called Acoustic Alternatives at a non-commercial radio station in Dearborn. The things I was discovering were things that are in the vein of what you do. And even a couple of people you've shared the stage with, Dar Williams, Rory McKenna, but other voices that I thought when I heard yours, Meg Hutchinson, Harriet Wheeler of the Sundays, Katie Curtis, Jonathan Brooke, who we talked about a little bit before we started recording, and Heather Maloney, who I believe you mentioned on stage last night at the Arc, who's a friend.
Yes, Heather's a friend. Oh, yeah, we worked together, yeah.
So to me, that's a good, comfortable place, and your voice makes me feel calm, and everything about it I just love. So
thank you.
I've been trying to connect with you to have you like tell me your story and play songs for me, and we finally made it work because you finally visited Michigan for a show that made sense for me to say, hey, come on, do the thing I do here, and here you are.
Yeah, we're doing the thing. Yeah, I'm so happy to be back in Michigan. It's been a long, long time, so I'm happy we're here, getting to chat.
Well, we're going to have you do some songs. We're going to have you tell me your life story a little bit. But I don't know that I could pick a song if I was trying to introduce somebody to your music to start with. What would you pick as a song as a starting point for an introduction to Hayley?
Well, this is a shifting thing. It depends what moment you catch me in and what version, which identity. But I have one on my little list of ideas for today that I would put in that category that I can play for you.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about the song?
Yes, it's called Enough Is Everything, and it's a bit abstract. I have two kind of categories of songs that seem to come through me. There's very narrative folk storytelling songs, and then there are these kind of word painting songs that feel to me like prayers that always kind of seem to be written by some version of me that's farther down the line, and I'm trying to catch up to it. They're coming from some place of some deeper wisdom, and this one is that way. So it's quite... The story behind it is quite abstract, but I think in the end it's about my relationship to songs and like looking for safety inside of music. So you can ponder that. It's called Enough Is Everything.
The bravest woman that I know doesn't hold a job, answer the phone from a one-bedroom beside the sea. Enough is somehow everything. The truest place I've ever been is a tiny room inside my chest, and most of the time the doors are locked. But when I make it there, I don't get lost. So I held the world, then put it back. 'Cause what was I to do with all of that? Well, she split in two and burning red, with a thinking heart, a feeling it. Ooh, ooh. And if what I meant to say gets lost, well, you can let that be the aim and not the cost. 'Cause I've been flipping coins since I was young, thinking every choice was so hard won. So I held the world and put it back. 'Cause what was I to do with all of that? When she split in two and burning red, with a thinking heart, a feeling it. You can only dance the line so long before the line itself becomes a song and evaporates into the air, as if you were never really there. Ooh, ooh.
Beautiful music there from Hayley Reardon on Acoustic Alternatives, live from Grove Studios. Live, I guess, recorded it live in Grove Studios. It's not really live. It's not happening right now when people are listening to it. There's a fair amount of music out there by you, and I'm going to put a link in the descriptor on the podcast on whether it's on YouTube or whether you're listening on one of the many platforms. But the newest are a live album, which includes your friends whose names I'm not going to mispronounce, so I'm going to let you tell me their names because they seem like I mispronounced them.
Yes, Pau Figueres and Arnau Figueres.
See, I would say those wrong.
Yes, they're brothers.
Pau is missing an L for me. I want to put an L at the end and make it Paul, but it's not.
That's happened on some shows before where I had to email the venue and say, can you take the L away?
Yeah, because it just looks like it's missing, but it's not. It's not a typical name for people who are raised in America. Also an 8-song project called After Everything. That was September of last year that was released. So a couple things that you put out last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you're one of those people who's constantly working on new music, and we'll get to that.
Yes.
But those are the most recent things, and I can't show those because they're essentially digital only releases. Yes. At this time. Don't be sad.
At this time.
Well, I mean, there's only so much.
I'm working on it.
We have to determine still whether the buying public who goes to your shows wants CDs or not. I do, but I'm also from a different age group. That I don't know your fans, but I feel like, yes, it's going away. There's not CD players in cars anymore. So unless you have a car that's old like mine, mm-hmm. you're not going to be able to play it in the car. And maybe you don't have one at home anymore. You could still use your DVD player. Oh, wait, people don't have those anymore. So it's like, it is kind of a dying media, but cassettes are coming back. So guess what? These will come back.
That's true. You're right. I left it. I didn't print this one to CDs. And then now that I don't have it, people are asking so much. I'm like, well, I didn't know there was it. So I actually I'm going to print now, but I thought the same thing. I thought it was gone. But you're right. If vinyl's back, if cassettes are back, then CDs will still have their home in the world.
8 tracks are next. No, probably not. So a little bit about you. Raised on the East Coast near Boston. Tell me about growing up, Hayley. What kind of things did you do as a kid?
Oh, I loved knitting.
Knitting
I
as a
loved
kid?
knitting.
Really?
Really. I just rediscovered it. The reason this is top of mind is I just started knitting again because when I was very small, knitting was my favorite thing in the world. I would like tell everyone knitting was my passion. And I just rediscovered it and it came back like riding a bike. So knitting, I loved my family, my friends. I had a very sweet childhood. I really did. Very coastal New England, small town, sweet childhood.
Siblings?
Yep, I have one sister. Her name's Chelsea. She's 6 years older than me. And we grew up in a town that our parents grew up in and their parents grew up in, so we had real roots.
You said your dad went to U of M. What did he do? Why did he come from Boston to go to U of M? Because there's good schools there, too.
That's true. And he actually went to a lot of schools. He had a very, he
Roamed the world.
Yeah, had a vast educational path going to a bunch of schools. But he started at U of M, and he studied naval engineering, naval.
I wasn't there.
Okay, yeah, naval engineering. I think that's the term. Yes,
He may watch
engineering
this and scold
boats.
you later for
I
not
know.
remembering.
I wanted to say naval. It's naval engineering. It is. Yeah.
I believe you.
Yes.
You could make up anything. Underwater basket weaving is probably not the answer, but you could have said that. I went, oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
That's what he came here for that program. I remember it. He said that was the one program, and he submitted his. I know he went to South America and Central America on a trip after high school, graduated early to be able to go on this road trip, this adventure trip to drive to the tip of Chile. And he said that during that time he figured out he wanted to go to U of M to this one program and submitted the application just to U of M. So I know that much, Dad, if you're watching.
Was it your mom or your dad or both that made you a music fan? Or maybe your sister?
All three. My sister is a beautiful singer, and I grew up listening to her sing, and I think that a lot of the like inflections and vocal things I learned from listening to her sing. And both my parents are big music fans. My dad especially played a lot of singer-songwriter music, and I think that that created this resonance with like singer-songwriter music specifically and the singular perspective of that versus bands and you know, like a artist identity. It's more this singular, you know, memoir in song form I really became attached to, and I think that was his influence playing lots of singer-songwriters.
When I was first starting to do this as a radio show, and I told you my story before we started talking, but Boston music scene was really an important part of what I was looking at. Like there were so many good acts coming out of Boston doing the kind of music that you do. I wasn't at all surprised that what you reminded me of, oh, she's from Boston. I guess that kind of makes sense. Whether you were subconsciously or consciously picking it up, you picked it up somehow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was such a blessing to just happen to be a kid who wanted to get into music and be geographically where I was. And my dad was aware of that scene, and my uncle's a musician, and he was aware of this singer-songwriter scene in New England. And I started writing songs so young, and then wanting to share them. And you know, bars aren't really the place for my little folky songs when I'm 12. I mean, in general, quiet lyric-oriented music, but especially when you're 12, 13. So I was so lucky to discover the New England folk scene and the Boston scene that's so rich in singer-songwriter history. So,
what kind of lyrics were you writing at that age?
Oh, I mean, lyrics about what I thought songs were supposed to be about. I mean, it was, I
Not
loved
real experiences.
I loved the process of songwriting at that time, but I was still figuring out how to write about my real life.
Well, I also learned in my research that you were involved as a spokesperson for the National Bullying Prevention Center. How did that come about?
Yeah, that actually brought me out to Michigan a lot when I was a teenager and even a middle school student. I spent a lot of time out here playing in schools in West Michigan. But that was because I had written this song. I mean, eventually I did get into writing about my own life. I think when I was like 12, like 11, 12, first started writing, I was just writing about what I heard songs to be, love songs and things that, you know, it was more just what I thought songs were supposed to be about. But then later into middle school when I was, in you know, 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I started to write about my experience, and I had a friend who went through a very, very hard time with bullying, and I had written a song about it for her, a song about her and her experience. And that song ended up connecting me to this organization called the Pacer Center in Minneapolis that was doing this anti-bullying work in schools across the country, and we ended up teaming up, and I sort of developed this school program with them as the container for it that stretched beyond bullying. It was sort of like a youth empowerment school program that encompassed music and songwriting, and we would write songs together with the kids, and it was a whole journey. It turned into this whole thing. I would tour around and play in schools, and my dad was with me, and I was playing for my peers as a 8th grade, 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th, and then eventually I was wasn't a peer anymore, and it didn't really make sense. But
Yeah.
but it was really a beautiful season. I learned a lot, and it was really cool to connect to music in a way that was, right out the get-go, had a message attached to it, which was also in my roots from the New England folk scene, So it was cool.
I feel like we still need that message out there, so
Yeah, yes.
don't stop doing that. But anyway, that seems to me, if I put myself in that age group of my own life story, I would never have had the confidence to do what you do. Where do you think your confidence came from?
I don't know. I think it came from songs, really, because I was not confident. I was such a shy, nervous kid. And I'm still quite nervous, like anxious, but I'm not, but I think that it was the music. For some reason, it opened up something in me. And when it was in the realm of sharing music or talking about songs, or I wasn't scared anymore.
Well, that's good. I mean, that practice.
Yeah.
I suppose practice does that for everything. So
Yeah.
Similarly, when I started doing radio interviews, 30 years ago, whenever I started doing them, it was like, well, I hope I'm good at this, and just eventually you get a skill and it becomes rote. You just know how to do it.
Yeah, you just get used to it. Exactly. Yeah.
So, do you remember the moment that you received a piece of feedback that made you go, I think I want to do music for a living. For nothing else matters. This is what I want to do.
I don't know if it came from like a piece of feedback. I think because I was so young when I started and I had so much support, I really did. Like my dad was really supportive, but my whole family, my mom, my sister, but my greater community, like I was very supported, so this helped. But I think it was more because I started so young, it was just natural. Like it was what I did, and I was embraced in doing what I did. So by the time I was thinking about what a person does with their life,
right,
I was already doing it. So it wasn't like, oh, maybe I can do music. It had been kind of cultivated as a part of me by the time I was looking at a life path, per se. But I do remember like my first time playing to shows, playing a full show, a full room of people who'd come and feeling like, wow, this is a thing. And yeah, I remember. But I don't know if it came from a certain piece of feedback. I think it was a very natural progression.
You just kept doing it, and it became who you were, essentially.
Yeah, stuff happened. It built its way into my life, and it became a part of me, and then opportunities kept coming, and I kept following them, and it's just natural.
So no one you went to school with to be at all surprised where you landed, so they probably saw that the whole time. That's all they ever saw.
I guess. I mean, one part of it, but yeah, I was definitely doing the song thing from a young age.
You went to Nashville for college. Where did you go?
I went to Belmont University.
Okay.
I didn't graduate, but I went there for a few years, and then lived in Nashville for another year and a half after school, and yeah, Belmont.
Did you find that Nashville wasn't going to help you do the thing you wanted to do, or it was just you felt too crowded there because there's a lot of competition there?
Yeah, it wasn't that I didn't think Nashville would help me do what I wanted to do. I think there's so much opportunity there, and I met amazing people that I'm so grateful for my time at Belmont and the people I met. I think I just had multiple things going on. Like I was already touring. I was already doing my thing as a like troubadour folk singer thing, which is quite a different path than the like Nashville industry path, especially the, publishing deal, writing world. And I was just trying to find my way between what felt like different avenues. And I was touring a lot, and I missed New England a lot, and I was taking out a lot of loans to finish school in the end, and I ended up just carrying on with music and then going to Europe, and then it just life happened. But and then I wound up not going back to Nashville, but it was a beautiful time. And now I go back there, and I'm so happy I have roots there and
Connections too,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So.
Would you like to do another song?
Sure.
Dealer's choice.
Yes, I do want to do. I'm going to switch guitars, okay?
Okay. I'm not going to complain.
Okay.
We're in Grove Studios in Ypsilanti. They are, again, the home of the podcast and have been for the 80-ish or so episodes. Most of them have been here. I have a great now and then I'll go to somebody else's place. Like Jeff Daniels had me come out to his place, and we did one talking about his audiobook that came out at the time. A local band from this music scene had a practice space, and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to pull off a band interview in the original podcast today, which is one of the smaller ones down the hall. But for the most part, we do them here. Every now and then somebody's a keyboard player, and I say, if you have a piano in your house, it might just be easier for me to come over. and I bring a portable mixer, and we go over there, and we do it there. Tell me about the song you're doing.
This is a song called Good News. It's off this latest record, the After Everything. I don't know what to call it, record. It's 8 songs. The latest project. It's called Good News.
You said your whole life's your moment, so I don't know which one you mean. As we sat outside the station, I was talking about the dreams that strangle me. And I was caught between some running list of other people's plans. I was holding out my life with scared, unsteady hands, and you were holding your heart. I remember it well, your gaze unwavering. And all along a turning point, a crossroads in some cosmic void, and branches bend, strings come loose. You have only ever been good news. We were looking at the fields from your mother's garden, yellow buds along the flatlands. Summer barely even started. I could feel the sun dancing from your skin to mine. It was changing me. Finally, and your fingerprints on all my maps. I gripped so tight I almost crashed, and roads they bend, strings come loose. You have only ever been good news. You have only ever been good news. The way your left foot still tilts inward, every couple steps. The way you fed me blueberries on that night bus to Switzerland, and how you somehow speak in poetry in a language that's not yours. Oh, something deep within you has been here before. And all along a turning point, a crossroads in some cosmic void, and branches bend, strings come loose. You have only ever been good news. Your fingerprints on all my maps. I gripped so tight I almost crashed, and roads they bend, strings come loose. You have only ever been good news. And good news heading up and for you. The good news.
Great tune. You can find the recorded version on a project called After Everything. My guest in the studio today on Acoustic Alternatives is Hayley Reardon. Thank you for doing that one, Hayley. Love it.
Thank you.
Your voice sounds fabulous today.
Thank you.
It's had rest.
Yes, kind of.
Well, Truth in Advertising, we're on a night where you don't have a show following your first ever appearance at the Ark. I can't believe it's taken you that long for them to book you in there, which is silly, but I'm glad you were there.
I loved it.
My favorite place to see a show. I have my name on a plaque on one of the counters there because I sponsored a seat because it means so much to me to see music there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they brought you in town. So again, tonight's kind of a night off, and you're spending it with me, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you were willing to chat with me about your stuff and play some tunes and
Yeah,
my
pleasure.
Let me do my thing. So you briefly mentioned that you went off to Europe. What brought you to Europe to do some living and touring over there?
Yeah, well, touring turned into living. But again, I mean, everything I've done has been just like following breadcrumbs and following paths that kind of are revealing. So Europe was a first. I mean, I guess the first time I toured in Europe as a whole was in the UK, and that was a little more like planned and calculated, I guess. But I really ended up spending a lot of time in like German-speaking countries, Germany, Austria, Switzerland to begin, and that was because somebody reached out to play a show in a very obscure place in Germany called Chemnitz, kind of a culture center.
You didn't know what you were in for at all.
No, and I'd never been to Germany. I never thought about touring in Germany. I figured my music is all about lyrics, and it just had never crossed my mind. And someone reached out about this show in a small kind of culture center, and I replied and said, "Hey, if I'm ever in Germany, I'll let you know, but I don't have any plans to come there." And they said, "Oh, well, let us connect you with someone who could maybe book you some shows there." And then they connected me to an agency, and then I started touring there. And then as I was going, I was meeting people, and it was fun. It re-inspired me in a way, and reconnected me to why I loved sharing songs in this way and in intimate spaces. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up doing an artist residency and moving to the south of Germany, and then wanting to stay and moving to Berlin and working. Like, it spread out from there. So yeah.
Well, was it a good experience overall?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that's been the segue into adulthood. Like, I went for, I mean, yeah.
I was going to college.
Yeah. In so many ways. I mean, it changed me so much. I learned so much, and I've had so many windows into so many cultures and lives and ways of being, and it's been instrumental. Amazing.
And eventually you decided to move back to the area near where you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know, without getting too political, I'm not sure I would move back to America right now, but...
well, it was before the current situation,
yes.
but it was already messed up, yeah.
Yes, we're a little messy, but what brought you back to that area? Why did you... I mean, you could have picked anywhere in the world to move back to.
Yeah, well, it was about 2 years ago, and this was a long, extended on and off, period of this abroad time. Like, I came home during quarantine, I lived at my parents', I finished my degree at state school, then I went back to Europe. It was very on and off because of the pandemic with a gap in the middle, which we were just talking about, pandemic derailment, so I had my own chapter of that. But then once I'd been living in Europe for a bit, and I was working a lot in Spain, but kind of technically living in Berlin and really bopping around, I don't know, suddenly the transientness started to weigh on me, and I felt very ungrounded, and I needed to go home, but home was kind of amorphous. Like, I wasn't necessarily trying to go back to my parents' house, but I wanted something familiar. And I talked about this last night at the show. A friend sent me a link kind of randomly to a little cottage that was for rent in this town that's about an hour from where I grew up. And it was a winter rental, so it was only available for 4 months in the winter. And then summer would come and they would rent it to people who want to go to the beach for more money because it's on the ocean. So I thought that container of a short period felt like, great, it's only 4 months, I'll go there. And there was something idyllic and like restful about it, and I wanted to reflect. And so I did. I moved to this town, and it turned out to be the right decision, and I have stayed there. Not in that cottage, but yeah, it surprised me to wind up back so close to where I grew up, but I love it, and it's been nice to reconnect with New England and with my roots and with the music community and with my family and everybody there I don't know, I never thought I'd be living an hour from where I grew up, and I love it, so it's really good.
Do your surroundings change how you write songs at all, or is it pretty much the same wherever you are? It could be, you could be in Ann Arbor writing a song or in Boston writing a song. Does it really?
No, I think the surroundings influence me a lot. I think it's also just like emotional states. Like, for instance, this last After Everything project, many of the songs are about my time abroad, but I wasn't in the state to write those songs then. And I think then I felt this pressure, like, oh, but I'm having all these experiences and I haven't turned them into songs. I haven't documented them. And then it was only in going to somewhere very familiar and being in that cottage and having this rootedness that suddenly they came through at the songs and the processing and synthesis, which is I feel like that's what songwriting is for me, is like my space of synthesizing what's going on. So yeah, I mean, there's the obvious thing of a place inspiring me, like writing a song based on something I'm experiencing in a certain place. But then there's also the way a place affects my state and allows a song to come through that maybe has been trying to come through and I haven't been available for it. So yeah, I think place is very interwoven with my process.
I learned yesterday that it's a fishing town. How come there's no sea shanties on this record? I feel like
I know. Yes, I met some locals in this town I'm living that were like reviving old sea shanties, and they do a night downtown, and I went one night and it was amazing. But no sea shanties from me. Just a fan.
Okay. pick up some Great Big Sea records and learn it from the Newfoundland perspective. You'll enjoy the sea shanties from Great Big Sea.
Okay, Great Big
They're
Sea
fun
sea
songs.
shanties. Okay,
They're from Newfoundland though, so
still.
they have a song. It's Boston and St. John, so it's how many miles essentially. It's a love song. Anyway.
Oh,
a
I have
band
to
for-
look it up.
Yes, song to explore.
Yes.
All right. You occasionally have played with a band, and you don't do it as much when you're doing this kind of a tour. But how do you choose members for a band? Is there like I'm looking for this kind of player. Hey, does anybody know anybody? Or do you just like go out and see people and say, I want you in my band?
Yeah. Well, when I've played with a full band, it's almost always been with the players that were on
Oh, on the record.
a record. Yeah. Like
You already knew them.
Yeah. And back at home, like this old, like I've only done 2 projects that were like live with a full band. One more recently and one back when I was maybe 18, 17 in New England with amazing Boston musicians. But, and then we did a couple like release shows with that band, but mostly I'm either solo or doing like a duo or trio thing, a smaller constellation. And it's mostly people that I have recorded with. Like the musicians I'm working with a lot now are from Barcelona, and I've been recording with them my past few projects, and otherwise I tour a lot on my own. So
Well, we already mentioned that your first time at the Ark was yesterday. And I know, listeners who are catching this whenever they're catching us, in 24 hours, you'll be on stage, or actually, no, 48 hours, you'll be on
Yes.
stage at the great venue called 20 Front Street, another favorite of mine, just a little
Yeah.
farther away. It's an hour drive for me, but I make the drive because I love the place. But you've also done house shows. So you've got these venues, these small listening rooms, and you've got these intimate house concerts. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer to be in a room where you're a little distance from people, or do you love that intimacy of a house concert more? Not that you would like not play the Ark because of it, but if you could pick, like they were both available on the same day, which would you pick? Or is it neither here nor there? You just like playing?
I mean, I love playing for sure in any setting. I think it depends. There's something magic about a house concert, about the intimacy. But there's also something that happens with a venue show that also can't happen in a house concert. And it's not as much the distance. You can still access a lot of intimacy. But yeah, I don't know. I appreciate them both for different reasons, but they feel like very distinct experiences to me. And I love both, but there's a certain energy of a venue show versus a house concert for sure and I enjoy both. I can't choose.
That's okay. Where's the oddest place you say that you've played a show maybe?
Oh gosh, I've played a lot of odd places intentionally. Like once in 2017, years ago, I did a tour. That was the first time I technically went to Europe. I did a tour with some friends of mine that are filmmakers, and we planned this tour of intimate spaces. It was called the Handwritten Sessions, and we only played non-venue spaces. And it was sort of an experiment of that, is like how do songs and music function in non-traditional spaces. And on that tour, we played on a boat. We played on a houseboat. We played in like this castle. We did of the obvious like backyards and things. We did record shops. We did wherever people would have us. So yeah, I've played in a lot of
strange places.
Yeah, I played last summer in Gloucester, where I live, on one of the old schooners, like out at sea, in the middle of basically a hurricane.
Oh, that seems smart.
Yes, I sang "If I Had a Boat" by Lyle Lovett, and it fulfilled a dream to sing that on a boat.
Love that song.
Yeah, well, I'm open. If anyone has a weird place you want me to sing, let's
Okay,
try.
then. Let's not make that too open.
Oh yeah,
Somebody's
sorry.
gonna come up with something.
An appropriate,
there we go.
obscure place.
Let's add a little caveat.
Yes.
Because I'm a bit of a picky eater. It's the way I was raised. My dad didn't like a lot of things, so my mom didn't cook a lot of things. And you, being on the road most of your life, must have had to just adapt to wherever you were. Do you find it difficult to find food to eat when you go strange places, places that are not where you grew up?
You know, I was just talking about this morning with the folks I'm staying with, that I'm first of all blessed that I don't have like technical dietary restrictions, because that does make touring harder. Although it's getting easier all the time. You know, now it's much easier to find whatever, gluten-free or vegan or whatever.
Lactose-free or whatever.
Yeah. But no, I think touring and traveling has broadened my, I think I was much more picky as a kid, and now I kind of eat everything. And I think, the necessity made me be very open, and now now it's fun because I try stuff that I probably wouldn't have tried if I hadn't learned to be very open with food from traveling. So yeah, eating healthy I try and find stuff that's healthy, but otherwise I'm going with whatever's. I'm on the food tour too.
Okay.
On the food culture tour of wherever I am.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that your voice makes me calm. It brings me peace, and that's a good thing. Do you ever go into a show or when you're writing a song with the intention of making people feel something? Like, do you hope that they're going to get an emotion out of it? I mean, I mentioned my emotion, but do you ever think about it consciously when you're planning a set list or making a record?
Yeah, yes and no. I think yes, in my set I'm conscious of this. Like I'm conscious of how I leave things and the sentiments that I weave through. But also inside of a actual song, once I'm in the song, which they feel like a thing that I enter to me, I'm aware, I guess, from experience that if I'm feeling it, that people have all kinds of different emotional reactions, and I can't always foresee them or plan them. All I can do is be in it, what it means to me. So, but yeah, in set lists for sure, and in making a record, I'm definitely aware of like the themes. Although with records, I feel like sometimes they reveal themselves to me after, the links between the themes that like live inside of a record. But in the show I am, like even last night at the Arc, I played like an encore song, and then I felt that I wasn't leaving on an uplifting sentiment, so I played another song.
How do you know we wanted to? Maybe we only wanted one.
Yeah, maybe they were done, but I did. That was on my mind. I was like, oh no, I want to leave with something intentional. So yeah, I do think about that, especially now. I think about that lately more than ever because of the times and as I think about what it means to be a person sharing music in a moment like this on the planet.
I accidentally skipped one of my questions that would have made more sense like 10 minutes ago. So
let's do it. Yes.
I mentioned that I was growing up in this musical genre, hearing a lot of acts from Boston.
Yeah.
But I don't really know the Boston music scene now. Is there still like that kind of a scene and like newer acts coming out? I still know the people that I knew from then, but is there still like an upcoming scene of folk singers from?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, we have Club Passim, which is like the Arc, and that cultivates a lot of, the singer-songwriter folk community, and gives kind of a home to it there. And we have Berkeley in Boston and New England Conservatory, and you have so many musicians coming through. There's still a vibrant folk scene. And also in Greater New England, there's the church coffee house situation is so alive, and because New England is geographically so crammed together up there, it's an active scene for singer-songwriters to be in that circuit, and I think it's a great place to go home. Obviously there's a lot of culture and so history, which I think attracts like a certain breed of songwriter. So yeah, definitely.
Who do I need to know about that I haven't heard of yet?
Oh my gosh,
from that scene?
There's so many people. Like Mark Corelli.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you mean like
people.
New people. Okay. I don't even know if she's there. I think I'm going to say people that have moved, probably to Nashville. Liv Green. Do you know Liv Green?
No, not yet.
Liv Green's awesome, but I don't know if she's now living somewhere else. But
they do that. They move.
Yes. But
one of my Michigan people moved to Boston and then moved back to Michigan, and then moved to Nashville. Rachel Davis. You're familiar with Rachel?
Yes, I am.
One of my favorite guests.
Awesome. Yes. Well, I guess we have to credit the place that a person,
started.
Yeah, or a place that's influenced them in some way. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, my brain is.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
I just thought I'd ask because it's not being immersed in that scene. Like, later I can tell you about some great Michigan music.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, but that's because I live and breathe the scene a little bit more than you do. You're here once in a very, very great while.
Yes.
I just thought maybe if you get a chance to go out and see music when you're home, who do you go see? That kind of thing. Like who actually gets you? Oh, I got to go out tonight. So and so's playing.
Yes. I go with my parents a lot to see. Well, these are all. You want new people.
Well,
but yeah, I have to give you a list. I'm going to make a list for you. I promise.
You got my email.
Okay.
You collaborated on a recent single or two with Seth Clear? It's just one single so far.
Two, yeah.
I thought so
One,
was two, yeah.
One came out on his record, and one we did just recently a co-release.
Other folks that you've had in your mind to collaborate with?
Anja Duvacott and I have been kicking around dates to try and work on something.
Cool, I love that.
Heather Maloney and I already have been working on a project together for like 2 years now, a sleeper project that's slowly coming into being. But I'm excited to get that going actually out in the world. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of people that I would love to collaborate with. I guess those are the ones that are on the current like books. Like I said, I'm reconnecting with like being home in New England because I've been so transient. So I look forward to that, like being able to, collaborate with local people and be more of a present in the scene again,
If money were no object and you could pick to work with any producer that you could afford, let's just pretend you didn't have to worry about the money. Is there somebody that you thought, oh man, they would make my record sound so great?
I don't know. No, I don't have I'm sorry. I don't have
dreams.
I have no dreams.
Oh.
I have plenty of dreams, but I don't have a like,
producers.
That's the person.
Yeah.
I would have.
No Rick Rubin is on your list now.
Rick Rubin. Well,
No.
I mean, Rick, sure. I'm glad if Rick wants to work together. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a dream producer that's like, that's the name.
You're just going about your career. You're just doing your thing.
Yeah, and I think that also I relate to things so much. The songs rule my life, and sometimes I think that it creates this fear on the other side that there isn't some continuity to like what I'm offering because I let the songs lead versus writing from a place of like, okay, I'm gonna write this type of record. I want to make something that sounds like this and then write to it. I'm usually following the songs, and therefore I have very different ideas production-wise based on the songs themselves. They're my kind of teachers and maybe this relationship to the music, to the songs themselves needs to adjust. Part of that might be because of the way that I came into songwriting, where it has been this like, I'm following it. Maybe I need to steer the ship a little more. But with production, it's hard for me to answer that question outside the context of what music I'm wanting to produce, specifically the songs, because I usually do start with the songs themselves. So yeah, I would have to make a list and I'd have to look at the music. But
you kind of have a sound. I mean, your records feel similar, which is not a bad thing at all. But I mean,
that's good. I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah.
But maybe you want to venture into a slightly more electronic sound or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing with you here.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've actually been lately going back towards making things in a more live, with more restrictions, like doing things more live for the sake of the freedom that I feel like comes from saying, okay, we're going to go in the room and we're going to do this. And that's that versus the layering and the overthinking. And because there's something freeing about that to me lately. That's just what I've been drawn to. And I find it fun and inspiring. So the last record we made was like that and actually, literally, it was a bunch of musicians in the room with like no pre-production. We listened to the songs and said, let's just do what we feel, which was very kind of very freeing. But
say freeing is what it feels like it would be.
Yeah, it was. And so I've been in kind of loving that headspace at the moment. So my next EP I'm making in June is going to be the same way, like live recordings with the two brothers from Spain that are on the live record we put out last year. But then maybe after that, I'm going to want to make something super produced and tight and planned and not live. So I don't know. I'm following my whims.
Seems to be working.
Yeah.
You just opened a door, though. You said new music. You don't have to, but it's time for another song.
Okay.
It could be whatever song you want. Just because you said new music, I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
Don't feel pressure, Hayley. I'm not.
I think I'm not ready. I'm not ready to play the songs I will soon be recording.
Okay.
Because I am still writing them and they're in fragments. They're still in fragment mode. But I will play a little love song to Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's called Bone Dance.
She's standing in the door frame, apron the color of the shingles. She can't recall the song's name, So she sings me just a little. She's been working on a painting. The tourists always want the same thing. Says, anyways, enjoy your walk, dear. It's good to have you back around here. Turn me around, yeah, I'm fishing town, fishing town. And up the road, past the pond, the waves are beating on, crashing and laughing again, saying so much for your big plans. This life's but a bone dance with no place for idle hands. Down on Main, she's selling used clothes. She's dressing strangers for a funeral. She says this island is a tightrope. If I were you, I'd take the back roads. There's a wind up from the northeast. Everybody knows what that means. Oh, the boats will sure be in soon. We'll keep the coffee hot long past noon. Turn me around, yeah, I'm fishing town, fishing town. And up the road, past the pond, the waves are beating on, crashing and laughing again, saying so much for your big plans. This life's but a bone dance with no place for idle, no place for idle hands, with no place for idle hands. No place for idle hands.
Hayley Reardon is my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives from Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, and that's a song you can find on her latest release, a digital-only release at this time. Could be physical by the end of the year if funds magically appear somewhere. Kickstarter, you could do that if you were. Do you have a Patreon page as well?
I do have a Patreon, so that's where
Me too.
Yeah?
I don't have as many followers as you, I'm sure. I have like 15.
Hey.
It's better than 0.
Yes, but no, Patreon. That's the Patreon heartbeat. Is like a small group of people who care is very powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah, is it Acoustic Alternatives?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
sort of help
for the
me
show
fund
specifically.
the things that I do that might cost me money. So I try to do this. I do this, and I do a weekly playlist, and I do 2 different internet radio shows, and I get paid for none of it. It's a lot of my time to do something that I'm passionate about. Happy to do it, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if I made a little bit of money at it. It wouldn't hurt too much.
It's okay to make money doing something you're passionate. Yeah, definitely, and that's I think that's the cool thing about this model of you don't need. You don't need to be this big if there's enough people that want to contribute and support something that they love.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patreon's been awesome. So I do have that.
Good. We might
been
turn
fun.
to that and say, a limited pressing or something. Oh, whatever. You said it
yes.
shows people have been asking.
Yes, I need to get it together for the new CD for sure. This is a one-woman show problem. I need to do it. And the patrons and I have discussed this because I said, "Are you guys still buying CDs?" And they were like, "Yes." So, yeah, I got to get on it. It will be available soon enough, I promise.
Are you aware that there's a video of someone giving a tutorial on how to master a song and they're using your song after you?
I am aware. Is it the one with, there's a couple. I am aware. And the reason, which is super cool, that's super cool. And the reason is because my friend, Pal Figueres, a guitarist that I play with who's on that live record, along with his brother Arnau, we did a live session at Telefunken Microphones, which is a mic company.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a German mic company originally, but now their headquarters is in Connecticut. And we did a live session there, and what they do is they put the stems up for people to download and mix. So I think that's what that's from.
Okay.
But it's been cool to, have people mix those live sessions.
I mean, if somebody is looking for a tutorial about how do I master my own music, they might stumble into your music. I mean, there's so many different ways to discover an artist. And, again, this is kind of why I do this. I want people to, I think music is good. Here's music I think is good. So check it out. That's the purpose of this. That guy's purpose was to teach somebody how to master their own songs. But in the process, they might have created a new Hayley Reardon fan.
Right, which is awesome. Yeah, it's true. There are so many ways. There's another one that my friend Anil, the engineer on my last records and who mixed the original version of that session, sent to us recently. That was an article, an article about comparing AI mastering to human mastering.
Oh,
and the point of the article was saying, like, it depends on the situation, and some music this guy's take was that some music the human mastering one and some music the AI mastering one, and it used one of those same songs to say that humans for our like delicate song, it said the quote the meat flesh wins, the meat suit wins, yes, something
suit.
Like this, and we were laughing, but yeah, I'm happy we're getting the audio people on board. That's a good thing.
So you're working on a new record. Are you one of those kind of people who writes more songs than you put on a record, or is it a little bit more laborious for you to write a tune?
Both. I write more songs than I put out for sure, but it depends. There's a lot of songs that I don't finish. Like verses. This is again probably something I should change, but it's kind of like a book. Like if I'm not into it, I put it aside versus power through. So I often rely on flow. So I usually, if I'm gonna finish a song, I usually feel good about it and will probably want to record it. So I write a lot of partial songs that don't get fleshed out, except for on Patreon. Actually, Patreon, I have a ton of my patrons would beg to differ because there's a ton of songs I play every month, and they're like, "What happened to that song?" And I'm like, "I forgot about that song." They remind me all the time of songs that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." So I could probably make a whole many records of forgotten songs. But I do write more than I record. But usually, most of the songs I'm actually seeing to total completion, I want to at least try to record and see if there's a world in which they live on.
Well, the best I can tell, this career is working out, but I saw somewhere in an interview that you did that you would consider being a teacher. What kind of teacher would you be? Like a particular subject or like an elementary school?
Wow, that was an old do you know when that was?
No.
Because I wouldn't have said that in many moons, but I think I do remember saying that. And I don't know, maybe like a high school English teacher or like middle school, maybe high school. I think that teaching feels a lot like performing. Like it's dynamic and it's creative and you have to kind of be on and flow. And I get energy from things like that,
You seem compassionate to me. Would you consider therapist? I mean, again, if this career didn't work out, you might have to do something else. What would it be? I don't know. Do you like hearing people's issues and helping them?
Yes.
Why am I trying to change your career? I'm trying to promote your career. Sorry, this is a weird question.
I hope I get to carry on with this career. No, I don't know about therapists though. I don't know if I'm the right fit for therapist because I think that I pick up too much stuff and I would struggle with. I think I would struggle with it.
Carry it with you.
Yeah, and I would. I don't know. I think I'd write. Like I would write novels or something.
Oh, that would make sense. You're a storyteller. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, or something. I don't know. I think I stand by teaching more than being a therapist.
Okay. It can be rewarding, but also a big pain in the butt.
Yeah. Now I'm really thinking. I mean, I know I'm planning my new career.
Get back to me. Don't plan your new career. Stick with this one. You got the goods. You sound great. I also stumbled into something in all my research where it looks like Ed Sheeran took over one of your gigs where you were playing somewhere.
If he took over I guess I would say, it was his gig. It was his event.
From the perspective,
yes.
It was like he took your microphone and had a little conversation. What was going on?
Yes. Well, he did a pop-up event in Ipswich, Massachusetts, which is 20 minutes from where I live in Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's on Cape Ann. The other Cape, not Cape Cod. We're very proud of ourselves up there. And he's from near Ipswich, UK, so in Ipswich, England. So they were doing this pop-up event in his sister city of Ipswich, Massachusetts, to promote a new song, and the song is called "Old Phone." So they did, and it's about nostalgia and these themes of like looking backwards at seasons that have passed and lost friends, and it's beautiful. And so they created this pop-up pub called the Old Phone. It was like a movie set. It was amazing. It was a real pub, a real structure, and it was amazing details. The walls were covered in, pictures. It was amazing, but it only existed for like 48 hours in Ipswich, and it was like an experience for fans and people in the community. And they asked a couple local artists to come play, which was also so generous and contributed to the pub feeling like a real pub. There's local musicians playing, and people from the community could come in and kind of hang out. There was food, there's beer. So I was invited, which was a great honor, and then a big surprise that he actually happened to come out into the pub while I was finishing my set, and then took over, played his song, and then the remarkable thing was he gave the mic back to me. Like, my set was over, and obviously the climax of the day is him sharing his song. Like, that was the point. And then he did the most generous, amazing thing is he was like, "No, I want to hear you again." And he sat down on the floor in front of me and listened to me.
It's awesome.
It was amazing. And I was like, "No, my set's over." Like, the production person had a walkie-talkie. I was like, "Nope, I'm on the clock. It's 30 minutes." And then he was like, "No, I want to hear you." And he sat down and was really, really,
cool.
really generous. It was really cool.
His first tour of the U.S., he was opening for Snow Patrol, and the record label at the time when I was working in a AAA radio station said, "Hey, we've got this new Priority. You should check him out." Well, we'd only heard at that point the A-Team. I'm like, "Well, it's a pretty good song, but I don't know what the rest of his stuff sounds like. So maybe, can I hear the rest of the record?" So they sent me a digital copy because it wasn't out in America yet of the first record. I'm like, "Yeah, he sounds pretty good. Let's bring him in." So I got to interview him for his first record.
You did?
During which I learned the album in Europe had been released, and it was number 2 below Adele and above Coldplay. I'm like, well, you could have told me that before you brought him into the studio. But
that's a good sandwich, yeah.
It's a pretty good sandwich.
That's full circle. That's very cool. Yeah.
Well, we're running a little short on time. You want to do one more?
Yeah, sure.
What's it going to be?
I'm going to play this song called "The Little Sadness."
Oh. Am I going to be sad when it's over?
No, it's about embracing the fleetingness of everything, and and joy and sadness being interwoven.
Very good. While you're tuning, I'm going to mention I also saw that you were listening to a record from one of my future guests, May Earlywine, who's going to be here in July. One of Michigan's finest. You were listening to her album called The Real Thing, and you mentioned that in a post somewhere. I'm like, how does she know May?
I was listening to that record. Yeah, that was like on replay.
How did you find that
I
record?
did that interview? I don't even know. I don't know. It's just one of those records that I stumbled into and was just, I'm very like, I have a season where I listen to this thing for a week, and then I listen to this thing and yeah, I remember saying that in that interview, and at that time I was listening to that particular album, and I don't know how I found it. I don't remember.
Well,
I think streaming, you're always stumbling into stuff.
Dig into her catalog. Well worth it.
Yeah, yes, I need to. I have a lot of driving ahead of me, so I need to, because that was the one record that that pulled me in, and I haven't listened to others, so you'll have to give me some recs for that. Okay, this is A Little Sadness.
On the long ride to Munich, I was glad to be alone. I saw the future like a blanket on the foggy mountain roads. When it was too late to go back and too early to call home, I thought everyone I love is asleep out there. I've got all of this new life I've got to put somewhere. I've got to put somewhere. A man whose name I can't pronounce and a waitress he'd once loved took me dancing in a part of town that they were both fond of. It was too late to go back, and I had nowhere to call home. I thought everyone they love is asleep out there. I'm just passing through on my way somewhere, on my way somewhere. And here comes the little sadness. Here comes the little sadness again. 'Cause you can't take it with you, but for a moment they'll pretend. No, you can't take it with you in the end. On the night of some election, we were walking in the park. It was dusk and there were people out, guns strapped upon the guards. And I was noticed by some strangers as they waited for the train. Someone was talking about America and asked me to explain. And I said, everyone I love is asleep out there. And I forgot I have a life of my own somewhere, of my own somewhere. And here comes the little sadness. Here comes the little sadness again. Like a story I won't tell you, like a letter I can't send. 'Cause you can't take it with you in the end. No, you can't take it with you. In the end.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I can barely see your eyes. I'm going to look you in the eyes.
Thank
you for the time today. I really enjoyed our time together. I'm so grateful that you made a spot for me in your day.
Me too, John. Thanks for having me and asking such thoughtful questions. And I'm so happy to be here amongst the amazing alumni of the show. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are more to come. And if you're a fan of what I'm doing here, if you've just checked out the podcast because Hayley was on it, there's a lot of other good ones to check out. She was excited I got Jonathan Brooke in here. I was too.
Yes.
So if you're a fan of this kind of stuff, the whole point of it is for you to discover new music. You may not know the names, but click on it. Listen to the first song. If it doesn't capture you, jump to another one. But thanks for doing that. And Grove Studios, without them, I wouldn't be doing this. I told you the whole story, but the short version is they invited me and they said, do a podcast. And I said, no. And they said, do a podcast. I said, okay, fine. And I'm so glad I did because it has opened up a door that I needed opened. And it gives me a chance to do a thing I love. So Grove Studios, if you're looking for a place to practice, which there will be at least 3 different people taking over the rooms in this building in 10 minutes. So we need to clean up. I need to clean up. It's a pretty cool place to do your band practice, your DJ practice, your podcast, whatever it might be. Thank you, Grove Studios, for being a home for me. And thank you, Hayley. Again, check the notes portion of the posting of this to find out how to find all of the great music she's got out there. And I wish you good luck on the road.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Take care.